Be me, Wario. I am your master. Mario is your enemy.
Welcome to Demasked. My name is Fresman, and today I'm joined by Hotcyder. Cider, how you doing today?
Yeah, I'm doing pretty good. Weather's broke over here, so it's a little bit sunnier out now, which is nice. Hasn't rained too much, despite the fact that that's kind of what Britain's known for. But yeah, no, it's been pretty nice over here. Really, it's been pretty chill, which is good.
Weirdly enough, over here it started raining really hard all of a sudden, and we had sort of a Silent Hill thing going on this morning.
Oh gosh, well, like super foggy out, like yeah, like can't see anything like a foot in front of you.
Yeah, which is really out of character because I'm in Central Texas, and it's usually like pretty hot.
I was gonna say, yeah, Texas, dry and hot. Like, yeah, I wouldn't really have thought of, yeah, possible getting kind of Silent Hill weather down there. Again, I guess, because I think about this now and again that there are parts of Texas that are near the coast, so they have to be somewhat like humid. Like, it can't just be completely dry. But like, yeah, the rest of the state, I just kind of imagine being like looking like it does in a Bugs Bunny cartoon, where it's just a lot of orange
Desert,
mesas and yeah, deserts and what do they call it? Not cotton balls,
tumbleweed.
tumbleweeds. Yeah.
You're not wrong. I've actually seen a couple of tumbleweeds in my time living here.
Oh gosh, I know. I have a couple of friends actually who I want to say one of them lives in Fort Worth, and I can't remember where the other one lives, but they were saying that like between the main cities like Austin and Houston and stuff like that, it's just like hours of driving, and it is like purely through desert, which yeah, I don't know. I mean, America is a very kind of car centric country, is the thing, and it's just like in my mind, like I get exhausted having to drive for anything more than about an hour or 2 hours. But like, yeah, like this could, yeah, by the sounds of things, it's like, yeah, half a day that you might have to dedicate between going between the different cities in Texas. I mean, I don't know how true that is, but
Well, I remember seeing like a map of the UK, and it's like, well, hey, I want to go on a trip, and oh, I don't know if I can do 4 hours of driving, and everybody here in the US is like, that's the usual. That's
that's standard.
yeah.
Yeah, no, it is really funny. Like, I think isn't there like you can fit the UK or whatever it is like pretty like it is small. I want to say like the state of Texas is either the same size or larger than the entirety of the United Kingdom, which is kind of or maybe even more than that, which is yeah, like you could go from well, they're called countries, but they're technically different counties. But like you can technically pass through three different countries in about 6 or 7 hours in the UK versus yeah, you're still relatively stuck in the same state over there, which is yeah, mad to think about.
I like well, I'm not a big fan of things being so far away. I do find it funny that the idea like being in Central Texas, I could pick a direction and start walking, and in like 2 days I could still be in Texas.
Yeah, no, it is like it is like if you kind of imagine like like a Europeanized version of the US where like all the different states are almost their own country. Like yeah, Texas could very easily like rival the size of yeah like France or Germany or anything like that. It's yeah genuinely bonkers to consider. How do you find it out there in Central Texas?
I don't like it.
No.
I'm I'm not from here originally.
Sure.
I'm from Oregon,
Okay.
and
I was gonna say very different weather. Yeah, because funnily enough, I went to the. I was about to say I went to the Pacific Northwest. I was in Seattle about 2 years ago, and although when I went there, it was, and from the people who live there told me it was like unseasonably warm for the September that we went, because usually it is very not cold, but it is very humid, very nearer the coldest side up there. Anyway, I mean, it shares a border with Canada, so like you would kind of expect it to be chillier up there, anyways. But Yeah, two very different climates, I guess. Oregon and Central Texas, you know.
Well, it gets me that apparently there's a joke that's for Texans that's nobody knows how to drive when it rains, and it's unfortunately very true. But being from Oregon, where it rains all the time, I can stand here and go, "Oh, you bunch of wimps."
I was gonna say you finally like you literally come into your element when that kicks in. Just like I know how to deal with this. Follow my lead. Kind of. I mean, I was gonna say it's the UK kind of has that a little bit of we very rarely get snow. So when it does happen, like especially so I'm in the south, like in the southern. Well, I'm in South Wales, so like
Mm,
we're so close to the kind of the seaside that we don't really get snow. So when it
mm.
does happen, it does shut everything down because it's like, yeah, no, we haven't got the infrastructure to deal with this. Like everyone has to take a day off until we might be able to get some grit and salt down, or hopefully it might melt by the, by the time we pick things up tomorrow. But yeah, no, it is just one of those funny things of just weather is one of those primordial things that has existed longer than we have. And whereas we have like contingencies for most stuff, there's like weather is like one of those things that you can vary, especially like surprise snowstorms or really heavy rain and stuff like that. Despite all the kind of innovations that we have managed and all the technology that we have, weather still pretty much powers through. It's crazy to think of, and like makes you wonder if it's one of those things that in the future will we be able to like prepare against that kind of stuff a little bit better. But yeah, I don't know.
Well, I it's funny you mentioned that. I recently took a driving course. I'm learning to
Ooh,
drive. I
congrats.
know I'm a little late in the game, but I'm catching up. Um, but they were talking about like weather events and driving in them and whatnot.
Yeah,
And since it's like a legal document, you gotta cover every facet of it, and it doesn't snow here in Texas. Like
interesting.
sure we'll get a little bit of hail, maybe some very light sleet, and
Yeah,
that's it. No trudging through a snowbank or nothing like that. And I remember I remember my teacher sitting there going like, well, in the event that you're stuck, skidding across snow or black ice, and they kind of look around the class like that's gonna happen, and then
yeah. Like everyone in the class is all wearing like 10-gallon cowboy hats, and you just see the Looney Tunes orange maces in the windows behind them and stuff, and it's like, eh, I mean, they may want to do a cross country trip one day while it might be snowing, but yeah, I guess that makes sense. They would have to teach you what to do in snowy. I mean, they did it with us as well. Like again, despite the fact that snow very rarely happens, I believe it's like because I did my because I imagine the states is the same where you do a like a written well like the theoretical side as a test before you do the practical side,
yeah.
and it's a lot of like studying up on the questions, and I had to do mine twice because I tried to pass my driving test before I went to university,
Hmm.
didn't quite pan out. Then because 3 years had passed, that had all expired, so I had to basically do it again.
Mm.
So I do remember like a lot of these weird facts, and so like I know that when you're driving on a wet surface, your stopping power or whatever can increase by about like 5 times, whereas on snow it's like 8 or 10, I think.
Hmm.
Yeah, so yeah, again, it is just one of those really funny things of just cars as advanced as they are now, and roads as advanced as they are. Yeah, like still, you do have to consider like a rain surface or a snow surface, like what how are you gonna those same reaction times still kick in, and yeah, in your case, you still need to know about driving in snow, even though it's like less than a decimal chance it might happen in Central Texas. But how you finding learning to drive at the moment?
So I'm very fortunate in that I've had multiple instances over my life where people have taught me to drive.
Oh, cool.
I like it's one of those cases where I already know how to drive, but I
Yeah.
just don't have the legal documentation required to show that I know how to drive.
Sure, yeah. So it's just like a matter of, well, I feel like I can prove that I can do this, so let's just get the piece of the piece of plastic to actually prove that I can do
Make it
this. I mean,
official.
yeah, in the UK it's a funny one because it's one of it is basically it's like the form of identification over here. You can use a passport, but it's like you'd never take your passport out of your house because it's one of those like levels of importance that if you lost it, you would have to like trudge up your birth certificate to kind of prove identity. And again, if you lose that, you're in an even worse state. Whereas with a driving license, if you lose it, you just basically you pay for a new one and you get it in like about 2 or 3 days. So they do push you very quickly into being like, well, you have to get a driver's license because not only is it going to be helpful for learning to drive, but just like you're going to be in so many instances where you're going to need to push a proof of identity. Like even if you like go to a job or whatever, and it's just like, yeah, we need a copy of your address, and it's like, okay, can I give you a bill? No. Can I give you like a letter I recently received? No, that's not going to work either. Oh, driver's license? Yeah, there we go. Give us one of those, please. So, yeah, no, funny old thing with that. But yeah, I mean, if it makes you feel any better with learning to drive, not that I feel like you need the help with it. I think I took my driving test like 8 times before I finally passed. I learning to drive in my part of the world was a bit of a pain just because it's like no one like where I live like drives correctly anyway. So even in the art of having to react and anticipate for really bad drivers, they end up marking you down for it. So it's like, well, there's nothing I could do. Like, if somebody is
I
driving
didn't
like
do
an
this.
arsehole, yeah, like literally, I am having to react to somebody. Like, if somebody is behind me in a single lane and they want to drive at 70 miles an hour, even though legally you can only do 20, like, what do you want me to do here? Like, they're driving dangerously. I have to match them. And even just like the way, it's one of those funny things of just because I know the states being just such a newer country, how cities are laid out is just a lot easier for driving because it's got that beautiful grid system of just everything's on a block. Every kind of avenue is named either being on a horizontal or a vertical. Whereas obviously in the UK, because so many roads and stuff are based on like old like Celtic villages and like Roman tradeways and stuff, they just had to fit roads wherever they could. And like I'll say like my city's bad, but there are ones out there that are like even worse because they were built on like hilltop settlements and stuff like that, where it's like, well, gravity doesn't quite work with the technology of the roads that we have. So yeah, we'll do our best to kind of make this work. And you just have like the absolute sharpest and blindest terms because it's like, well, this bank or this this set of houses, they've existed longer than roads have, and we're not going to get rid of them to try and fit roads in. So no, sharp acute angle turns as you're going around, but also we still want you to go at a relatively quick clip on this. So yeah, just not that I'm trying to give myself an excuse for why it took me 8 attempts to pass my driving test, but it was definitely just a thing of like, they don't make it easy over here to do it. But again, the theoretical side's easy enough. Funnily enough, my dad used to work in the office building where next door was basically the software company where they were responsible for all of the learn to pass driving test software that which I mean, if you ever look at not so much these days, but like if you ever looked at the game or like the CD software charts of any given year, like you'd always have like say World of Warcraft or Half-Life 2 or whatever pretty high up. But always at like number 5 or number 6 was this software called like driving test success. And it's just because, like, kids are always turning 16 or 17 or whatever. Kids are always needing to learn their driving. And, like, one of the best ways to do it was just this software. And funnily enough, this company, like, had a little, like, kind of almost like a proto version of, like, the Google car, where, you know, you'd see it drive around and, like, record stuff. They had their own version of that. But to go out and record the footage for, like, see if anybody was driving recklessly or, like, having accidents and stuff so they could put it in the training, which did happen a lot. Basically, near the offices where they were based, they were extremely lucky that they were just in a very hot spot for just people driving really badly. So, but, yeah, it's useful to drive is one of those, like, as much as I'm trying to get out of, and trying to use more public transport, and also cycling is something that I've weirdly got back into a lot recently. There is just something useful about having a car. And in your case, in Central Texas, I guess, like, you have to have a car, really, just to get around. But
It did get a little strenuous there for a second because me and my partner were living out in the middle of nowhere for a minute. In a place called Dale, which is, it, like, with zero exaggeration, it's, all right, it's your neighbor, and then 3 miles down the road is your other neighbor.
oh, God.
And it just, like, it took an hour and a half to get to the store just for groceries. It was that far.
Jeez. I was going to say, is this like, is it like farming? Like, is that why everyone is so far out? Just because of, like, the field sizes? Or is that just how it's set up in Dale?
It's mainly field sizes. Like, there are farms, but it's mainly, like, cattle, not so much crops.
Sure.
And it gets to a point where, like, you can't tell whose field it is anymore.
They all just kind of blend together.
Well, it got to the point where we had to tell them apart by what types of cows they had.
Oh, interesting. Like, yeah, I guess they would be breeding different kinds of cattle, because that would obviously be their competitive advantage. So, yeah, like, you're almost like looking at it on Google Maps, and it's like, okay, this field is full of brown cattle. This one is white spotted cattle. This one is, like, a slightly tan colored one. Okay, I kind of, yeah, like, rather than having zip codes, you have, like, like Pantone colors, but for cows to kind of figure out where you are.
So the area we were living, it's a 2.5 mile trail that you have to drive through to just to get to the house.
That's pretty. I was going to say, what appealed to you about it versus I mean, I guess, like, I'm not sure obviously what the time difference was between you moving from Oregon to Central Texas, but, like, what was it about the place for you and your partner that appealed, even though it had, like, a 2.5 hour drive to it? Sorry, 2.5 mile drive to it.
No rent.
You know what? Fair enough. That's pretty. That is pretty appealing.
It was a essentially. Are you familiar with the concept of tiny homes?
I am. Yeah, I weirdly enough, I've got into watching a lot of kind of tiny home content on YouTube, like the guys who convert old vans and, like, buses and stuff into kind of like mobile homes, but also, like, Never Too Small, which I guess is kind of, that's more on a different end, but that's like a lot of people who live in, you know, big cities like Paris and Berlin and whatever, but, you know, they will live in what was very obviously the living room or bathroom of what was once a larger apartment that has been converted into a smaller one, and, like, they just show you all the conversions that they've made to be like, yeah, so, like, my bed folds out, but then you flip it over and it's a desk, and then, you know, you get, and it's like, on the one hand you kind of go, that's sort of, you know, it's a shame that, like, people are so packed in that they have, like, so little space to work with, but then on the other, it is like, that is, like, pretty intuitive what they, like, and pretty ingenious what they've done here. But, like, I know that with the tiny home stuff, that's more like not converted, what do they call them, like, shipping containers, but that's, like, one part of it. there's also obviously like the kind of the hand built stuff as well. And I mean, I don't know. Tell me more about it. I'm kind of I'm sort of interested in this.
Well, so the one we were living in was like, what's the word I'm looking for? Shed isn't the correct word, but it was, they converted like what's the word I'm looking for? There's like they sell them at like hardware stores, like larger corporate hardware stores like Lowe's and Home
Yeah.
Depot and all these. But it's those kind of storage sheds, but they look like they're kind of meant to look like a small house.
Yep.
It was one of those that had been like gutted out and then put new flooring in and whatnot. And some of the amenities that we were promised didn't show up.
Oh
Like
no.
we didn't have a bathroom or a kitchen.
Oh gosh.
But we were across a huge field from like the main house, so anytime we had to hit the restroom, just run across the field.
Nope. Fair enough. And yeah, ask if you can use the bathroom in the main house. I was gonna say, so you and your partner are obviously in this tiny home, and then is the main house, is that like a different couple, or is that like multiple families, or what?
So that was my it's my partner's mom's place,
Got ya.
and it was it was a pain there for a minute, mainly because so I'm afraid of the dark,
Okay.
and there's not really any lighting at all outside on
I
that
was
piece of farmland.
I was gonna say, yeah, like if I could imagine like one of the darkest places possible, yeah, somewhere where it's a 2.5 mile drive off the main road would probably be it.
And well, what'd get me is like, I mean, of course, as a man, you can
Sure.
relieve yourself in one way in a field.
That's true.
That's that's one option. But the issue I had is there was a single street light that was over the top of our house, but that's the only light. There's just like a halo of light around our house.
Oh god, so you're like having to go out with with a torch and hoping that like coyotes or whatever aren't around while you need to relieve yourself. Oh gosh.
And it got even worse because so they have a bunch of cattle, and
Sure.
those cows, I don't know how, they are very large but also move incredibly silently.
Interesting. Well, I mean, I guess they're not wearing bells or anything around their necks, but yeah, I mean, I guess whenever I think of cattle moving, and like I am hearing the noise in my head, but I guess I'm thinking about the fact that they're moving on like cobble streets or on pavement or something like that. I guess hooves on like soft, well, not soft, but like on soil or grass or whatever. Yeah, that would be relatively quiet, I guess. But,
Well, I mean, you'd expect at least a thud or something.
sure, yeah, or like just the sound of just a large object kind of shuffling back and forth. But for some reason, I thought you were going to say that they moved like super quickly, which I'd feel like I could maybe see that in some instances if they were like in a panic or whatever. But just like, yeah, just like at night, it's like, okay, we've been standing around all day, we've been building up all our energy. Let's go galloping around while everyone else is asleep, kind of thing.
Well, funny enough, they actually do move pretty quick, especially when I was feeding them.
Yeah.
Well, I was told as part of like living on that ranch is to feed the cows at like 6 in the morning.
Yeah.
And the thing is, at first it seems like fun, but then it's terrifying if you're not fast enough. 'Cause-
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, because they probably have the what do they call it, like the Pavlovian response at this point of if they kind of smell food or they kind of realize that at a certain time of the day it is food time. Yeah, they will just all rush in to try and be like first to get to it.
Well, like I remember the first morning because I was thinking it was gonna be like feeding a dog, but like having to call them and wait for them to show up.
Yeah.
Not true. So all their food is in like these big kind of butcher paper bags. Like they're like
Okay.
huge dog food bags essentially.
Yeah.
But but you put them in a trailer, and then you have the trailer like shut and locked so the cows don't get into them or nobody else gets into them.
Sure.
Problem is, the cows know what it sounds like when that trailer opens.
They've been hearing it long enough that they're able to associate one with the other. That's really good.
Well, I'm sitting there like, all right, I'll just open this door and just like, ka-chunk, and then you see on the distance, I'm just, oh.
That's pretty good. So how do you find just like the kind of the split between what sounds like this kind of farm life kind of setup, sort of very basic out, in the fields in this tiny house, and then obviously the other side of what you do, which is like this kind of YouTube content creation? Because you'd think that like just the two things would very rarely kind of coexist, but then I guess I can't think of a lot of content creators who obviously are either kind of living mobile anyways, or do have this kind of like a separate set, this kind of in the field sort of setup. Because yeah, like you can have hobbies and different, not every hobby has to kind of like stick one into the other. They can be, relatively separate. But
Well, like when I lived out there, YouTube came to a screeching halt for me because I had no internet out there.
that makes sense.
And like, I sure if I had like a full internet connection out there, I would have been making back to back to back videos about living on that piece of land, and
Yeah.
couldn't, so I didn't.
No, that's totally fair. Whereas now, I guess it's kind of like getting a bit more into it, and that's sort of what I'm assuming this interview, I say interview, this kind of like chat series is about is, yeah, kind of connecting with other people who share this similar hobby of obviously making YouTube videos, but come from all different parts of the world and all sorts of different backgrounds and stuff.
Well, that and I enjoy seeing like the reasons why people make YouTube videos, because they're for varying, like vastly different reasons. Like personally, this entire thing, for me, is a hobby. It's for fun. I don't make any money from this.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say, and like, it's funny because I get this a lot of just like people who want to, and like I'll like for the folks at home or whatever, but like my YouTube channel isn't like gigantic. I make a little bit of money off it every month, but again, I'm kind of more in that hobbyist zone as well. But I do seem to be weirdly plugged in with a lot of other creators who do this professionally, like either through kind of sheer circumstance, or they kind of came in with a bit of a mindset of, well, I know that I have these kind of facilities or this sort of background, and I'll be able to kind of do this on a more full-time basis. And a lot of people do just say like, oh, how do I do this how do I do this professionally? And I'm like, I don't know, I can't really answer that. Like, I'm like, I just give the same answer to like as I think probably you would if somebody asked me, just if you think it would be fun or you think it would be interesting to do, then do it. Like, don't worry about kind of views or numbers or whatever. Like, you just have to find some kind of interesting sort of creative muscle that you want to build up, or like feel like if you need an outlet for something, and then if people gel with it, and like, that's cool, but don't see that as kind of like a building an audience. Like, if anything, like, look for the opportunities to see, like, rather than thinking of it as like networking, just think of like, oh, like this guy seems to be like, we both seem to be into the same thing, or oh, this person who's commenting, like, they seem pretty cool, I want to like reach out and, I don't know, get like a conversation going kind of thing,
Well, that, and I like, not only am I on YouTube, I do watch a lot of it in my spare time.
Yeah.
And there is a disconnect that I feel whenever I watch people's content, because there's, sort of how you are in more private moments, but then there's who you are when you're in front of a camera.
Yeah.
Which is this sort of cleaned up, sanitized version of yourself. And at least on my end, what I try my best to do is I'm not playing a character. I'm not playing anything up. I'm just a guy who happens to be wearing a mask.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what was kind of the inspo behind that? Because funnily enough, I have like two. I'm not like pals with them, but I've with them a few times. But I do occasionally see people and chat to people who do have the kind of hockey mask aesthetic, and I know that like Voorhees is obviously one of the big inspirations, the Friday the 13th guy, but then
Mm.
a lot of people also mention like Splathouse, the old Namco game, as kind of an inspiration, which I know is like they ended up coloring that character's mask to red to avoid like winding up the IP holders of the Friday the 13th franchise. But
Mm.
yeah, just in general, I always think like yeah, why do people kind of pick their not like an online persona, but like pictures that they use to kind of represent themselves and whatever. And like, yeah, what's the story behind your masked man?
So for my mask, well, the standing lore behind my mask is that I'm a cursed mask
Mm,
that anybody who puts me on becomes me.
okay.
Um, like the joke I've made with my partner, who is shorter than I am, is like, if you put my mask on, suddenly you're 6'3" and you have diabetes now. Good job.
On the one hand, you'll be able to get stuff from the high shelves, but on the other, you will have to,
Can't have
um,
sugar.
yeah, you might have to take some metformin now and again. I was going to say, is it type 1 or type 2?
I very much appreciate that you didn't lean into the insulin joke, and I'm glad you said metformin because that's exactly what I'm taking.
I know a lot of people who have type 2 diabetes is the thing. Yeah, because I think when you say diabetes, people immediately go, oh, type 1 childhood diabetes, insulin. Whereas I would say probably more people in the world are, yeah, the type 2, which I think is hypo and then hyperglycemia, or I can't remember the two. But yeah, you take metformin to manage it. But yeah, I mean, it just is what it is, really. But
Or
sorry, go ahead.
oh, and then I heard a joke recently. It's like, is it the diabetes that is your fault?
Yeah, that's a funny one. I mean, I'm kind of hitting that age now where sometimes I would just like, because I live quite, I don't live that far from my mom, and like I'm the only like member of my family who does, so I do go see her quite often, and she's now started getting into the thing of wanting to test all our blood to be like, because I think it's because my
Huh.
little sister very recently turned 32, and so we're all very much in the adult, like, yeah, like not young anymore, we all are all grown adults. And so my mom's just like, hey, you want to just take a little blood test. You want me to test your blood pressure and your blood sugar to see how that's going on. And I always just have the thing of like, oh, you better not. I've just eaten something, or it probably shouldn't. It's too early in the day, just so I can try and avoid it as much as possible. Because I know for a fact that the moment I give it, it's just like, yeah, you're probably borderline, if not actually diabetic at this point. It's like, I don't want to hear that. That makes me feel like I can never grasp back any youth at this point. Is finding out that no, I'm a diabetic adult. But
I got hit with a double whammy. I got diagnosed diabetic about, I want to say, a year and a half ago,
yeah.
and then this last March I turned 30. So
Oh gosh. I was gonna say how you. Well, you know what? I'll make you feel a tiny bit better. So I'm turning 35 in April. Well, it is April. I'm turning 35 the end of April, and it is just kind of like, oh, I got like, yeah, no, I can't go back to my 20s anymore. Like, I got 5 years until I'm 40, and just in my mind, I'm now starting to have that kind of horrible feeling of just, oh, like, can I still do like the YouTube videos that I do? Like, can I still talk about Mario when I'm 40? But fully realizing that there are hundreds, if not thousands, of channels that do exactly that. Some of them that are incredibly successful, being men of a certain age on camera, not doing anything to disguise their age, and being like, yeah, Super Mario Brothers is like my favorite game. Let me tell you about my childhood memories about this, even though they're like 40-year-old childhood memories of these games. And it's like, yeah, no, I shouldn't really feel embarrassed about hitting that age, but I don't know. Maybe it's a thing of just because I think it's, it goes in hand with that stuff like the Forbes 30 under 30, where it's like, oh, have I like achieved what I've needed to before I turn 40? And it's like, well, everybody's on a different track. Like, you
Have
don't
you
have to
earned
hit
your
the
first
same.
million?
Yeah, no, exactly. Like, I don't have $1 million. Well, I don't have £1 million either in the bank. I don't have closed out any successful businesses or anything like that. But then I imagine that it's just that's what. Oh, sorry. That's what everyone on Earth is like, apart from the world's smallest decimal of people. Of course, they're the people who get coverage and get stories written about them because they are genuinely exceptional human beings. But then, if you have a literal media diet, like those are the people that you see every day, you're interacting with, then you kind of just get that skewed perspective of just like, oh, should I be trying to attain that similar level of kind of prominence? Which, yeah, I definitely say in the early days of YouTube there was always that kind of like worry of just, oh, could I be doing better? Should I be doing better? Kind of stuff. Whereas I think it's taken a long time to kind of learn that, well, I started doing this as a hobby and I was having the most fun doing it as a hobby. And I'm not really in a position where it's like you have to be like a YouTube millionaire in order to achieve some kind of thing. Like, no one's going to repossess my house or put. They're not going to put me in prison if I don't have 1 million subscribers on YouTube. Despite the fact that I feel like, I don't know, maybe give it 5. If Mr. Beast is president, I feel like that's probably what's going. They're
That guy.
they're going to have like live. I was about to call it. I guess it is Squid Games, but
It is
Beast
Squid
Games.
Game.
I mean, it is just unironically Squid Games, but it will just be a thing of like, rather than having social credit scores, like, oh, what's your YouTube numbers? Oh, okay, yeah, if you're under 100,000, if you haven't got the silver plaque, then yeah, you go in the energy mines. We put you in the big hamster wheels where you generate electricity for everybody else. Which also
We
kind of goes into the funny YouTube thing of just that, like, well, if you don't give people the opportunities to succeed, then they won't. It's the kind of the opposite of the meritocracy thing of just, if you don't give people the opportunities to have a creative outlet, then no one's going to be creative. You can't have people with 1 million subscribers on YouTube if they don't have the opportunity to get there. Which, again, going back to kind of what I was saying of just, people will be like, okay, how can I be successful on YouTube? And it's just like, well, nobody starts unless you are building off the back of another channel or brand or something like that, or you are cheating. There is no way to be successful on YouTube out of the gate. You gotta, and that is part of like any creative process, and that's kind of the fun thing of it, is that the moment that you figure out what you like doing and finding your voice is like, that's usually where, not where success will be found, but like satisfaction will be found. And if that comes with success, then that's great. But other than that, yeah, you just kind of need to find your own tempo, which, yeah, I definitely say is kind of like, that's kind of a nice, comfortable place where I found myself in. And again, like, sort of hearing what you were saying about this sort of conversation series is like, definitely seems like a cool place to be as well. Of just that, yeah, like, using the YouTube leverage that you have to just be like, I just want to talk to interesting people, which I think is like really cool, you know?
Well, that, and going back to like the creative processes and why I wear a mask, I understand the majority of YouTubers are the people that like put their faces out there.
Sure.
And while I I enjoy my privacy,
Of
but
course.
and I actually had a long-winded argument about this with um, a previous roommate of mine from years ago, back when I first started making my own masks,
Yeah.
and I think I've mentioned it before, but the photo that you see here on Discord of like the hockey mask isn't the only mask I have. The idea is that the shape of the mask can change, but
Yep.
the design stays the same.
Yeah, like it's the same liquid but changing glasses essentially. Like the vessel may change, but the contents remain the same. Really.
Yes, and it's I've I brought it up before, and I still think it's hilarious that I have a bunch of my masks hanging up on the wall in my living room
Yeah.
where I'm sitting right now, and it occurs to me that the maintenance guys for my apartment have been in my house, and I'm pretty sure they have a couple questions.
It's just like, I mean, maybe they just might think you're very well traveled. Like, oh, he's this guy. He's going to South Africa every every summer, and he's bringing back a lot of kind of tribal masks and stuff like that. That's his. I mean, you say that. I mean, I won't mention the name of this person. I mean, if they listen to this podcast, hopefully they'll get a chuckle out of it. But I think the worst example of that is a friend of mine is or was very into blaxploitation movies.
Oh
As
no!
Now, as a note, this guy is not. This guy is white Irish, and he had a lot of blaxploitation posters in his room, and I think it was like a maintenance guy or something had come over to do some electricity work, and either the fuse box was in their room or near their room, and they just peeped their head in and just saw all of these posters which had like N words and exactly just giant. Like Shaft's giant face, some Sweetback's badass song and stuff like that. And apparently, like, it was only that interaction that this guy went, you know what, maybe I'll take these posters down just in case somebody again, they live with their folks, and at no point they were like, you should probably take these down. I think they were just like, if that's what your interest is, go ahead, put them on the walls, kind of thing. But yeah, it was just an outside person's sticking their head in and just seeing all these blaxploitation posters that they're like, maybe I'll take these. I can't keep these up forever. I'm gonna take these down, I think. But...
Well, the problem I run into is I try to keep a separation of this YouTube channel and my interpersonal life. And sure, I'll let people that I'm close to in on the joke, as it were. But whenever like a new friend comes over, oh man, I like your apartment. What's with all the pink and blue masks?
You just pull out like a 100-page law bible, and you just like just start reading. There we go. Get yourself up to speed on what the masks are about.
What I've been very tempted to do is just like gaslight, just like, what masks?
Oh, that'd be funny. Just like, there's nothing on it. No, the walls actually have blaxploitation posters up. I don't know what you're seeing. Like, that's what's up there.
I have the entire collection of Black Dynamite and Dolomite.
I've got Dolomite. I have the Human Tornado. I have Beatty Wheatstraw up there. 3 classics starring Rudy Ray Moore. That's funny. Sorry, go ahead.
I have pre-Samuel L. Jackson Shaft up there too.
Yeah, man, I forgot about because they made they did like well, I mean, technically the Sam Jackson Shaft is a Lego sequel. It's like probably one of the first ones that they tried, but they did a more recent Shaft Lego sequel where Sam Jackson Shaft is back, the original Richard Roundtree Shaft is back, but they have also introduced a new a millennial Shaft, as it were, a shaft for the aughts,
generational Shaft.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you've heard of generational trauma. Here's generational shafts. A shaft that everybody can kind of imprint on. And I kind of have this horrible feeling that in 15 years they might do like another Shaft Generations and introduce like another new Shaft, essentially. Like, we have to keep the it's like James Bond. We have to keep the Shaft thing going.
We have to keep using the license, otherwise we lose it.
Yeah, and again, it's like I can get that with like Batman or Spider-Man, but it's just like who's lining up to watch the new Shaft movie at this? But I mean, if they come up with I don't think Millennial Shaft had the juice, but if Gen Alpha Shaft is like, if he can tap in with this new generation in a way that nobody saw coming, I mean, if it works, it works. You can't stop him. So
He's one bad mother who also likes to talk about his feelings.
He's one bad mother, but he respects his mother. There we go. That's cute though. I mean, again, I always like chatting to people where they have like like I guess it is, yeah, like a character lore. Like, yeah, there is like a bit of a story behind, what kind of profile pictures you choose, and yeah, like obviously the YouTube channel is the conversational stuff, but like I suppose in your mind it's like you do also do the mass stuff, and you have all this kind of like story. It's the sort of thing that you could write like, and I'm not sure if you do, but you could do like little comics and stories and stuff about that thing as well. And yeah, just like masks as the concept is just like that's cool. Like there's, I mean, like you think of every kind of superhero out there. Yeah, every single one of them wears a mask, and in one end, it could be literally for the reason of they want to keep a secret identity, but it's also the thing of because they have a secret identity, you can literally imprint anything you want on like a mask, so it then becomes a thing of like, oh, anybody can be under there, or they can do their own thing. Or again, it's like the African war tribal thing of just like, well, I can make a scary face, but I could make it even scarier face if I literally whittled one out of wood, and it's got that kind of cool transformational effect to it as well. And again, like, does very much kind of plug into the YouTube stuff of, as you say, like I think people people do appear on camera, but, and I say this to people all the time, but just when I think even when you try to be casual on YouTube, just the art of speaking into a microphone is so like artificial that like it ends up you have to put like a kind of an extra energy or performance into it that wouldn't exist otherwise. So there's always going to be a slight layer of artifice with all of this stuff as well. And so yeah, like I could see somebody make the argument of, well, if there's going to be artifice, what is the extreme end of that? Or again, like artifice exists, but I want to try and eliminate that as much as possible.
Well, that, and I have a standing theory about my, like, it's a theory that I formed as I've been doing this channel for about almost 10 years now.
Yeah.
And I have a theory that my mask is somehow helpful in building conversations with the people that I interview, but not so much talking about the masks, but it's more so the fact that I don't have a traditional face to talk to in this regard makes people open up more.
I think that's absolutely right. I mean, again, the YouTube quote unquote wisdom is that, oh, you need to be on camera and you need to talk to people. But I think that is very much, and there's probably an even better term for this, but it's kind of like, it's the plane with the holes in it, where it's, well, oh, all these planes that came back from war, like they have holes in their wings and in their tails, so obviously those are the places that we need to fix up. And it's like, no, those planes came back because it hit the wings and the tail. The planes that don't come back get hit in their propeller or in their pilot or anything like those are the, and so like a lot of YouTube wisdom is usually just one thing that worked once or twice that then tries to get scaled up. And I think a lot of that is, again, to go with the whole you need to put your face out there. It's because vlogging content was humongous, like 15, maybe even 20 years ago at this point. Like, and while a lot of that kind of, I think, to kind of speak more from my own experience and doing video essay stuff, you kind of get that drip feed of, you have the angry video game nerd begets the nostalgia critic, and the nostalgia critic begets Lindsay Ellis, Angry Joe, Dan Olsen, Patrick Willems, and they all beget like the kind of the Nebula people of, your Jacob Gallers and your Sarah Z's and your and again, so it becomes a thing of, well, we already have the experience of making the Angry Joe and the Angry Video Game Nerd videos, where we know this is how you light it, this is how you're on camera and stuff like that, and we can give you the tips on how to make that look as good as possible. And again, it's really funny that just there is that level of professionalism behind it, but in a way of trying to make it look quote unquote like spontaneous. Like I think of there's this critic called Big Joel who has like a side channel where he'll just lay in his bed and hold a microphone and just chat into it, just about like what it is on his mind. And people go, "Oh, I love this because this is so spontaneous." And it's like, well, he still had to set up a camera on a tripod. He still had to make sure that the lighting was good enough that not only was his face lit up enough that you could read it, but also like the rest of the room is in a good enough contrast that he sticks out. Like, I think people don't quite realize like how hard it is to make something look effortless on YouTube, of just how much equipment you need, how many steps you need to go through, and the like. Again, like I think something like this conversation series is really good because it's just like you just need a Discord and a microphone, and like if you obviously that also comes with you need a computer, you need an internet connection, which I mean, going back to what you were saying earlier on, you didn't have an internet connection for a long time, which is kind of so again like it's not like privilege, I think is maybe too extreme in a word, but it is like there are so many resources that you kind of have to rely on that you don't realize like how much effort goes into stuff. And I think again that kind of goes with the point of artifice of just you still need to put electrons into stuff in order to get it going in a way that you either try and overcome it and go, well, where can I try and make stuff feel a bit more natural elsewhere? Or, like, do you lean fully in and go, no, let's go extreme artifice? Like funnily enough, I've, for the past, I want to say just after Christmas, so about 4 or 5 months, I've swapped from using a standing mic to having a headset mic. And I find that so much more comfortable. Like, not even, like, literally chatting for you for the past, like, 53 minutes so far. Like, I've just been, like, walking around my flat and, you know, just kind of, just like, leaning on stuff and sitting on different surfaces and stuff like that. And just, yeah, like, I don't feel like I have to be sat in place facing directly towards a mic in order to kind of get a performance. Again, it just makes it so much easier and more relaxed to kind of, like, get those thoughts across. And again, that's a level of technology that maybe didn't really exist in the vlogging age when that started off, but hey, it exists now, so like, you know, why not lean into it? And again, might open lots of other cool opportunities with stuff like that as well. So again, I think people kind of get in their mind that you have to do YouTube a certain way and it has to be like it's only like reaching a level of success isn't even just related to numbers, but it's also in comparison to other people who are also successful. And it's usually a thing of, oh, are you doing as well? Are you doing the same things that this already successful person is doing as well? Whereas I think again, to find the joy in this, you really have to disconnect from that and just go, no, what works for me? Like, what do I get enjoyment out of doing this, you know?
Well, like, even in doing this show, like, personally, I use a microphone that's sort of poking out in between my monitors, but that way I can keep an eye on not only the recording, but I also have, like, your channel pulled up on one screen and all this.
Sure.
And it's more so that I talk a lot with my hands, and and I fear that if I were to do a headset, like, my tone would sound different because I'm moving a lot more if I'm walking around the house.
I mean, I know that I'm trying to upsell you or the audience on having a headset. I mean, the thing's glued to your head, so it's a bit like a GoPro. Like, it always stays in the same relative distance between your mouth, even if, because I mean, literally as I was saying, like I've been pacing around the flat and, you know, doing other stuff, and for the like, you know, looking at the waveforms, it hasn't really interrupted it too much. But again, I think that again, that's part of the fun, is like figuring out what works for you, you know?
I don't know why I was waiting for, like, I'm actually at the store right now.
Yeah, no, I've actually, I'm in my car. Yeah, I'm actually, you know, you were saying about 2.5 miles away, and I was like, what's that? What's that to me? What's 2.5 miles away from me? Let's go find out. But, I mean, because everybody, I say everybody, a lot of people that I know are like, oh, I have a special recording space in where I live, and, like, it will be like an empty closet or an empty like, early on, one thing that somebody told me that I tried doing once or twice was, oh, if you want to get better sound quality, do it under a big blanket.
Right?
Just throw a big blanket over you and the monitor and the mic and just start recording, and that works maybe on the coldest day of the year if you're only making a 5 minute, 5 minutes or less long video. You could like anything longer than that, yeah, you're just gonna pass out underneath like any. And again, like it's like, oh, you can't just use any blanket. You need something relatively thick to to muffle the echo. And it's like, oh, great, love that. So yeah, again, it goes into, you know, there's a lot of want to, with the vlogging style of videos to try and be as natural as possible, but that then bumps across. People will watch a YouTube video and immediately go, oh, the sound quality of this is awful, I'm not going to watch this. Or, oh, the video quality, this is awful, I'm not going to watch. And so you still need to put a level of production value in, like, to even come across natural, which I find, like, yeah, it's just like a really funny juxtaposition, you know?
Well, like personally, so I haven't done like there's this weird YouTuber pipeline, especially for people just starting, where it's like you have to get foam and put it on your walls.
Yep.
Which, don't get me wrong, it absolutely helps. Like I understand the want, I do get it. But personally, I don't use it because I just don't have the space for it. And what I do instead is I use a audio interface that like automatically filters out the background.
I can't use foam because I'm in a rental. So they're basically like, you put anything on these walls and we're fucking taking you to the cleaners. So it's like, oh, okay. I think, again, I've tried all sorts of different, so like there was like a few years where I had walked to the hardware store, bought the foam panels, but then also bought cardboard boxes, or like kind of unfolded cardboard boxes. And what I essentially did was very roughly build a kind of like a weird mixture between a recording studio and like panels. And the idea was that whenever I wanted to record a video, I could pull these cardboard panels out, stack them around where I was recording, and then do that. Never worked. They were like genuinely like a really dreadful thing of that. Again, I guess the argument could be that, oh, because you're in the mindset of having to do it in this kind of weird recording pod, maybe that gets a better performance out of you or whatever. But yeah, like in regards to sound, like I had like a Blue Yeti for a while, and I had bought like this gigantic foam hood that sat on it, which looked a bit like Wheatley from Portal 2, just like this really big sphere with a big blue eye on it, which was where the pop filter was. And again, like I did, you follow all the advice of that. Oh, you need to put it on a mic arm so it doesn't vibrate, and oh, you need to do this and this. And I did that for a while, and then I was just like, last year, I just really wanted to kind of consolidate my desk down and just try and minimize stuff as much as possible. And I was just like, I hate having just this mic arm here. Like, it gets in the way of me working. So, like, what's a better solution I can go for? And so, yeah, I looked to see what headset mics a lot of kind of different YouTubers were using. So, saw one which was, like, relatively affordable. And I went, okay, let's see how we get on with this. But, again, like, that's, like, a funny... Like, you would say that's, like, a YouTuber with a million... Or, like, you'd say that's Mr. Beast, and they'd be like, no... Like, you need to destroy your apartment or your house in order to facilitate being the best YouTube space possible. And it's like, that don't work for me. Sorry.
Well, the one that drives me consistently nuts is like, build a recording booth in your home. And I'm like, great, I'd love to learn. It's like, you got to spend about $5,000 on plywood. And it's just like, oh...
How to be the best at YouTube? Number one, have a ton of money. Number two, know a ton of people. It's like, okay, great. Can't do either of those. Sorry. Let's see how we get on from there. But
if I ever start like the joke that my partner makes is the over was it the overexcitable, the YouTuber like, "Hey guys, what's up?"
Yeah, they just come into a video at 100 miles an hour, just like, well, after you watch this video, you're gonna learn 5 fantastic things about this, and it's like,
Sign up for my Robux giveaway.
oh yeah, no, they can't do a top 10 without like also figuring out. By the way, if you thought that was interesting, make sure you subscribe to the channel and go to Patreon, and yeah, it's like upsell, 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 and it's like that is like the one. If it is the first time that I've clicked on your, like, I know people who hate that way more, but to the extent of even like, if you mention you have a Patreon, they're like, fuck you, you're a shill, you have sold out the moment. Or like even like, oh, can you give me a subscription and a thumbs up? And it's like, how dare you? I thought you were just making this content out of the goodness of your heart, and now you're asking me to. Like, I'm not that bad, but I do find the people who go like maximum shill mode pretty early on, I'm kind of like, especially if it's a video where it's, what are my personal opinions about this thing, which I think I fall on a weird side of that as well, because I know that like the adage with YouTube is that it is personality driven, and again, like, the reason we're having this conversation as well is that, like, yeah, this is a YouTube personality that I think is interesting, and we might have an interesting convo. But I find a lot of the YouTube stuff that I will watch will be, and again, like, it even kind of goes to an interesting point about the whole mask of just that. Usually, I don't want to cooking videos. This is what I am like. I just want to see like an interesting recipe, and I just want to see something being made. One of the biggest turn-offs for me when I watch a cooking video is if I see the guy too much, and then the worst one of all is that if it just cuts to the end and it's just them eating the food and doing like really exaggerated like so delicious, like rubbing my tongue kind of stuff. It's like cut through me. Yeah, it's so bad. But then that goes into the whole thing of just kind of like a lot of the stuff that I watch on YouTube will just be like, yeah, a lot of recipe cooking stuff, a lot of tech related stuff. Even though I don't buy, I can't afford a lot of tech, but I will just like, oh, what are the new Apple devices like? What are the new oh, somebody got really good video quality out of their SNES. How did they do that? And just like a lot of very like almost kind of product reviewy kind of stuff for them. Yeah, and like film reviews will be exactly the same thing, but then like there needs to be a bit of a buy-in for me of just that this is my opinion about this game, and it's like, okay, but I don't know who you are, so you're gonna have to do a lot of work to get me on board of finding this stuff interesting. And a lot of the time people do, but then again, for people who are just starting out, it's always that really awkward thing of just, you need to have your own opinion on this, and you need to show people why you care about this sort of thing, because if I come in and I don't, again, you have to put the work in to kind of get me there. But then there does get a point where it then sometimes tips into the other side of just, oh, this is like all personality, or like you're doing too many in-jokes here, and this is the first video of yours I've watched, or you're being a bit too overly friendly or a bit too overly chummy. And again, you're a person on YouTube that I've literally just clicked on your video for the first time. I'm not really jamming with that. And again, it's always going to be that awkward thing, because some people do it very well. It's a fine art that people can pick up, but yeah, for the most part, I do find myself just kind of gravitating more towards the quote-unquote like faceless side of stuff. And I do kind of wonder with you were mentioning the fact that people have said to you about the mask of just, I don't think it's faceless in a bad way of like there's no person, because there obviously is personality here, but I think it's you're more able to easily gel with it, because it's like it's almost like a kind of it lowers the floor a little bit of being invited into something,
Yeah. Well, then with with the mask, like, you don't. What's the word I'm looking for? Like, I watch a good amount of interview videos.
Yep.
And I feel like when, like, the call and response of like, do you like working on thing starts, it's a lot of like the interviewer will be like happy and fun, and then as soon as they ask a question, they go like deadpan while they're listening to the answer.
Yeah, or it's the Jimmy Kimmel or the Jimmy Fallon thing of they'll ask one thing, and
Laugh.
like with any response, it's either a laugh or wow, or like a huge nod going yeah, and it's like yeah, no,
Oh
you
my
gotta like
goodness.
I can't believe you just said guys, can you believe it? And then the audience doesn't know what to do, so it's just like very awkward, scattered laughter kind of stuff.
Or just start clapping.
Yeah, they just start clapping for oh yeah, like I think of the clip of when he had Paris Hilton on and they were showing off their NFTs and just the audience didn't know what to like. They were just like, should we be clapping at this picture of a monkey? We don't get it. Is this a good thing? What they do?
All my apes stolen.
Oh my oaths, God. I think of that all the time of just how feverish it was for 18 months about, guys, these pictures of apes, they're going to change everything. And actually, I can speak to this a little bit of just, so in my full-time life of doing, I do digital training for a living. I do like, sometimes with so I'm embedded in a business at the moment, so I'm part of their kind of HR team that does internal training, but I used to do it at a previous company where we were an agency, so like people would come to us, usually their HR functions or whatever, and be like, hey, we need to put training together and you guys are really good at it, so help us out. One of the projects that we did was for Meta, the Facebook's company, and it was to put together training for selling the metaverse to other businesses. The idea was for them was like, well, in order to generate money for the metaverse, we need to bring partners in. So like on the simple like on the kind of the level that they wanted and the level that made most sense to me was like, oh, we need like data partners or like content creators and stuff like that. But like what they were trying to sell was, oh, Versace could have a digital store in the metaverse that sells digital Versace items, and it's like, what's the appeal there? Like people, Versace is appealing because you can go out into the real world and wear that, and people go, "Wow, is that real life Versace?" Versus in the metaverse, it's on your computer. Like you'd have to go and show people that on your computer and be like, or ask them to go into VR to see your stuff, and then be like, "Oh, okay." I mean, that didn't have any. Real people didn't build that. There was no like legitimate. I mean, 3D modeling is a genuine art, but like it is still, this is kind of a faux thing. And again, the big we ended up so with this project, which they had put me on writing it. I was like, okay, can I talk to their like people, like the stakeholder people, and be like, okay, but like you're asking us to sell this to business people, but you're not actually. You've only given us written content, which is what is the what is the metaverse as it is now, and how can you access, what are the different technologies that can access it. You haven't actually explained to us why this is good for businesses. Didn't hear a reply back, and 2 weeks later they had completely shut down the metaverse side of Meta. So it's like, so like again, like they had gone head first into trying to be like, oh, the metaverse is going to change everything, and it's like, okay, but how? And not
And
even
why?
just on the
And then
yeah, and what? Well, yeah, like the why is an even bigger question. Of just like what good is this for society? I mean, I think the one thing that the only, if you want to call it successful product that came out of their metaverse venture was literally virtual offices, and that ended up being a massive failure because it was a thing of, well, Microsoft Teams exists and it's free, whereas you want us to pay for a service which is not only not free, but also has the tech buy-in of we need VR headsets, we need to have exclusive space within the metaverse in order to hold these conferences. People might want to customize their avatars so it looks like them. So again, it was like this really expensive teleconference solution to something which it was a problem, and it was a solution in looking for a problem that just didn't exist. And I think about that all the time with NFTs, of just that, okay, what's the selling point here? It's a digital receipt for a purchase, and it's like, okay, but like commissions, like drawn commissions and stuff have existed for hundreds of years, and it's like, those didn't need receipts. The whole point was that because the proof of ownership was just the fact that you had that picture and you could say to people, hey, I own this. So like there's no the idea of keeping this as a ledger in the blockchain is like there's That doesn't make any. You can't sell that to like to the common man. And while I think it's now turned into this weird thing of, well, that didn't really matter anyways, because now it's just the biggest businesses on earth now trading crypto between the same five people. It's like, well, as again, going back to the whole thing of why is this good for society? It absolutely isn't. It's just like it's just a kind of an awful product that exists that was designed for somebody to make money, and yeah, they've made money now, but it's like it's to the benefit of no one else. I do feel like I've ended up in a horrible conversation cul-de-sac with this. I can't even remember how I got into talking about that, but oh yeah, audience reactions and yeah, good hosting duties and stuff like that. But yeah, I wonder if Fallon still has the NFT.
I don't know, and I can firmly say without feeling bad, I don't care.
Nope, that is totally fair. I think that is
the
fair.
only interaction I've ever had with NFTs, and I need to clarify, I didn't know it was an NFT at the time.
No, that's fair.
So it was one of those things where, of course, there's your Bored Ape photos or those incredibly low effort, like 16 pixel ones.
Oh, bit dudes or whatever they were called. Yeah.
And then there was these ones that got announced, and I thought it was something else. I thought it was a product you could buy and physically wear. Thus, that made me excited.
Ah.
They were making 3D models of Batman cowls.
Ooh.
Like fully customized ones. And I'm like, oh man, how much do I gotta spend to get one of those? Because I figured it was like a 3D printed thing. You send your head measurements, and then they print it and send it to you.
Yeah.
Nope, it's a 3D animation of it spinning, and that's the NFT.
Great. Love that.
Like, fuck that.
I think about that all the time. Of there was like an NFT, like it was like a Discord of people who were really into NFTs, and one of them had they didn't buy it as an NFT, they just bought it like as a thing. They bought the Jodorowsky Dune concept art book, like going into all of this like incredible concept art that was created for this version of Dune that never met production. But they were like, guys, we can mint this as an NFT. And it's like, well, this is a book that already exists and has been for like everybody who buys this book owns a copy of this book. You would just be minting your copy of the book, but they were like, no. If we mint this, we would not only own the rights to this book and the concept art, but we would own the rights to Dune, and we could do our own version of it. I know it is. Genuinely, it is like I don't like calling people stupid or morons, but it is like that thing of just. Like,
I'll do it. That's
did you
stupid.
guys? Yeah, no, that is really stupid. like, go through the steps and think about this for a minute, you know? I was going to say, you were saying about Batman cowls. You see much of a Batman guy, then?
So, I like Batman, but I'm not willing to make that what's it called? The comic book argument of like, oh, he wins every fight because he's Batman.
Oh, yeah, Batman solos everyone because there's all I've ever seen are comic book panels where, because it's a Batman comic starring Batman, they have to have Batman always come out number one in each one. So here's him fighting a literal space god, or here's him beating Superman multiple. Like, I think that's what it stemmed from, was that, you know, what's to say? Frank Miller writes The Dark Knight, and he just wants to have this part in it where it's like, I want Batman to beat Superman because I want to have this whole thing of, look, this frail human being can defeat like a literal alien powerhouse to show that the strength of Bruce's convictions and ideals can overcome any, crank stuff. But it's a really cool part of that comic, and it's like, yeah, great. But then after that, it was like, oh, I want to do my own version of when Batman fought Superman. But like, obviously, Superman's a good guy, so can't really do that. So we're just gonna have Batman just face all of these ridiculous like alien powered, but even to the extent of just like, because I always think about that with the Batman comics of. My favorite villains of his are just like guys who are on his power level who kind of in like like in Bruce Wayne's case, like he has the kind of the money and the sort of the fortune that he's able to sort of build out an armory for himself. Like he has the Batmobile, he has all the gadgets and stuff like that. Whereas all of his villains, and I guess it's kind of a weird thing, but like rather than spending the money on themselves, they kind of use that to be like, okay, we're going to put together a goon squad, and we're going to have like all these different fleets, and we're going to coordinate and do all these bank robberies, and it's almost kind of a thing of just, yeah, Batman is like the ultimate individualist, whereas all of his villains, even though they all, you have the Joker being like, oh, I'm only looking out for number one, and it's like, yeah, but most Joker stories always have like he's hired 5 to 50 guys who are going to work for him, so obviously there was the promise of money somewhere. And he's like, well, I can't fight Batman on my own. That's why I got 50 guys, to help me out with doing it. But it is, it's just kind of a funny thing that it's always just Batman on his own versus all these guys who are like, yeah, no, I've had to put like a goon squad together, and so it just becomes this weird thing of like, well, I guess they're not trying to say that Batman's good because he's doing it on his, he's the ultimate individualist kind of thing. That is just the nature of comic books, is that it's impressive to see one guy fight 50 guys and come out on top kind of thing, but...
I mean, don't worry, Batman's not alone. He's recruiting children to help fight these criminal empires.
I go back and forth on the Robin stuff as well, of just... On the one hand, yeah, it is really funny that it's like the 1940s gee-whiz idea of just like, Batman has taken on this young ward. He's only 12 years old, but he's fighting crime and it's like, yeah, no, the times really changed super quick. That is now like such a really bizarre idea of just that, yeah, like, oh, who are Batman's friends? An old ass British butler, the police commissioner who only maybe sees once a week when he turns the big light on, and then children. It's Robin. It's like multiple Robins. It's Batgirl. It's all the other members of the Bat. Yeah, like he doesn't really interact with other adults unless it is
Justice League level activity.
Yeah, it's either the Justice League or fighting villains, or when it's like, oh, I haven't done a Bruce Wayne thing in a while. I'm going to go on a date with Vicky Vale so people know that Bruce Wayne still exists and is an affable billionaire playboy kind of thing. But
happens to have adopted like 4 kids that are all like jacked.
Well, that's the thing as well, is that like they always have to do the thing of just... Oh, Bruce Wayne has adopted, Dick Grayson. His family got killed at the circus, and Bruce Wayne felt so sorry for him that he's now going to live with him in his big mansion. And yeah, also Dick Grayson is now in incredibly good shape. Oh, by the way, Batman also has this guy called Robin now who looks like he might be around the same age as Dick Grayson. Don't worry about it, though. It's all fine. There's no way they could be related.
It literally has the same hair, has the smallest mask ever.
But that's the thing as well, is that, like, at least in Batman's case, is that he has the little square of skin that you see, which is his mouth and the bottom of his nose. And it's like, I mean, that could be anyone, really. As long as a white guy in Gotham City, which could be, absolutely anybody, really. But whereas with the Robins, they just wear domino masks, and it's like, yeah, I don't know about this. It doesn't make a... Again, though, that is the fun of comic books, is this, that, like, again, these are all things that were designed in the 40s, where, like, that kind of level of fantasy, I guess, you could kind of get away with it, whereas now it's like, I was going to say the graphics, the artwork gets even better, and the stories get even better, but they're still kind of weirdly shackled by this stuff. I mean, it's funny because I very recently replayed, I don't know if you've ever played them, but the Arkham games, but yeah, no, I'm a big fan of the Arkhams, and I feel like, I don't want to say they don't get the credit that they deserve, because they were incredibly popular games at the time, and they still continue to be incredibly popular. Like, they're not quite, well, I mean, I guess maybe the first one is retro at this point because it's over 15 years old, but like I know I hate to say it, but the Xbox 360, like, it used to be that if a game was 10 years older, 10 years old or older, they were retro, but now I think they've bumped it up to 15 years, and unfortunately, so the PS, which I think is funny to consider because it's like, because I was chatting to somebody about this the other day because they were like, oh, you know how like we had throwbacks to the NES era, like with Shovel Knight and the Mega Man reboots, and then the SNES era they didn't do it so much, but then like right now we're in the whole kind of the PS1 horror aesthetics and the N64 platformer, and people are going like, oh, when are they going to do a throwback to like the and I think there's like been a tiny bit of PS2 stuff now, but it's been super rare. But like people are like, oh, when are they going to do a throwback to the 360 era? Where it's like, I know you snort laugh because I was thinking of that as well because it's just like, well, the only definable sort of like aesthetics of the 360 era were literally grey and brown, like and bloom. But that was only like 2 games, which was Gears of War. And like, well, it was Gears of War in any game that tried to like ape the look of Gears of War, which was only like maybe 1 or 2 things, and then maybe the Half-Life 2 demo, the Coastline one or whatever it was, but that had like so much like bloom in it to try and show off the hey, we can do HDR now. But like, apart from maybe Unreal Engine, early Unreal Engine games, where funnily enough, Batman Arkham Asylum is like a perfect example of that, where I studied computer animation in university, but I lived with guys who were on a games design course, and they all learned UE3 because the idea was oh, you'll come out of university and you'll be industry ready. And I think a lot of studios, well, I mean, a lot of studios do use the Unreal Engine, but like at the time UE3 was only slowly starting to pick up adoption in places. But I had used to watch them work in it, and one of the funniest things about UE is that like everything's done in units, where I think it works out that like a character is 2 units tall, which works out to exactly 6'2", and they're also built like fridges. And you look at any Unreal Engine 3 game at that time, and everyone has exactly the same body type, and it's because it was a limitation of the engine that if it was a playable character, it had to be 6'2". And so you look at Batman Arkham Asylum, where he is like this fucking giant ass guy who's very obviously just over 6 foot, and it's like, yeah, that's an Unreal Engine game. Oh, this game's covered in normal maps and really glossy metal surfaces. Yep, that's an Unreal Engine game. But yeah,
I looked at the numbers. I checked how old a game has to be considered retro is between 15 and 20 years.
okay.
Arkham Asylum is 17 years old.
Yeah, 2009. Right?
Yep.
Yeah, no, so it would be 17 years old. Yeah, that was a funny. I think that was just before I went to university, and like this was like huge into the 360 era because I was like, I loved the free demos that they did with every single game, and it's like, why? Well, I guess they kind of brought that back. Like a lot of Steam games, like indie games especially, will just have a free demo, and it's like fantastic. You know, I can take a flutter on this and see what it's like. But basically, like there was a weird Microsoft mandate that they were like, any 360 game has to have a free demo, and it's like, okay. So I remember playing the Arkham Asylum one because there was a lot of buzz being like, oh, this is like, you know, licensed games, especially like games based on Batman, are usually crap. Not this one is like, isn't just good for a bat, like it is just genuinely good game good, and it's like, okay, I'll believe it when I say it. Yeah, like playing that demo and then playing the full version, I was just kind of like, like like where the hell did this game come from? Like not only in regards to just really solid video game stuff, but it just kind of felt like they had perfectly translated like all the like turning Batman into just all the cool video game stuff that you can do with a character like Batman, of like all the gadgets are kind of like Metroid upgrades, and like the combat is this really interesting, like not quite rhythm game, but it's less about, you know, being able to power up your punches or whatever, but it's just more about spacing and reaction and stuff like that. Like getting around the environment, he's got a grappling hook, so it's kind of like Prince of Persia, but with like way more verticality to it, and just like all of these elements just come together in such a perfect way, and just like how they were able to turn mechanics out of the his villains as well, like the Joker stuff of. So you have the main story where you go into all the different places, but hey, you can also do backtracking and like look for the Riddler trophies. But also, if you're new coming into Batman, or if you're like me, where you'd seen the Nolan movies and maybe saw a couple of the cartoons and thought, oh, this guy's okay, but like you do all the Riddler stuff of just, hey, there's a poster on this wall of this character that you've never seen before, and it's like, oh, cool. And then you read all the lore about this stuff, and you go, oh, like, yeah, there's like lots of really interesting, like, detail and texture that they've added to this. And I think I was always of the opinion that like Asylum was the best one that they had done because it was like so small and tight and considered, and then like the moment that they started scaling them up, it just started to lose something. But I replayed Night over the past couple of weeks, and I was just kind of blown away. It's just like, oh, this is 2015, so 11 years later. Oh, this thing is just like it's really big and really sprawling and stuff like that, but there's like no dud notes in it. Like everything is like the best version that it could be. Like even of the Batmobile stuff, as much as like it put people off at the time, like going back and replaying it, it's just like, oh no, this all works really well. Like I'm just kind of genuinely in awe of what they were able to achieve, and the fact that it only took them 4 years after and Arkham City was turned around in like 12 or 18 months or whatever weirdness it was from the original Arkham Asylum. So the fact that they were getting these games out so quick, but like was still at such a high level of quality, I think is like really, yeah, just like really mind blowing. And like even like 11 years later, just the fact that it still has held up as well as it has, I think is just so incredible, you know?
Well, then, and like specifically when it comes to the Arkham games, they do this good job of subverting expectations, especially if you're an avid comics reader.
Yeah,
like the whole through line with the Joker, very specifically through like Arkham Asylum, sort of your standard Batman, Joker, cat and mouse, but then you get to like Arkham City and the fallout of that, and how the effects of Joker not making it kind of informs the rest of the story. And what I love is there's like the argument between your typical comic book nerds like me, where it's like, oh, Batman should just kill the Joker, just get it over with.
Yeah.
And like when it gets to Arkham Knight and the Joker's like long dead, nobody's like giving Batman any guff for it. There's no like, I can't believe you let him die. It's like, well, that happened. Sucks. All right.
It is really, because I'll give Rocksteady that of just as well, like, because comic books will always have this issue, because as long as comics will still be made, nothing can really be that permanent. Like even to the extent of like Jason Todd had been dead for 30 years, but now he's back as like a regular member of the Bat family, you know. But because I don't know, whatever Warner Brothers leeway they had given him, but the fact that they were like with Rocksteady, yeah, if you want to write a single through line story with this, you can. The fact they did kill off the Joker, I think, is like super interesting, and again was like the thing that I hadn't realized so much, like when I was playing them at the time, but definitely playing them now, from Asylum to City to Night. I don't want to say mature, because I don't think that's quite the right term, but it does feel like in Asylum they're trying to toe this line a little bit of it's fun and it's a little bit campy and it's very kind of cartoon Batman, but it's got that slight adult edge to it because of the fact that it's Unreal Engine, it's all photorealism, well, photorealism within the extent of Batman. But and also like, yeah, we can go for a slightly teen audience with this. We can have the bad guy swear at, it's pitched at a slightly, it's like pitched at 14-year-old boys basically, which is like the ultimate market for that. But then with every game they do afterwards, it's like, okay, can we try and be like a little bit meaner with this and a little bit like, we show this Asylum where it's kind of like you get the idea from that first game of just the Asylum is very much kind of a place on its own reality of. The outside of Gotham City is maybe a little bit more normal, but everything within the Asylum is kind of this kind of more gritty, twisted kind of world. But then as they go on with the other games, it's like, well, can we bring that influence into the rest of Gotham and like City, I think especially is like, okay, what if there was an entire section of Gotham which was as mean as Arkham Asylum was? And in that game, they start being a bit like, okay, the villains are actually going to kill people. Batman's going to be pushed into it, like more edgy scenarios than we've really done before. And then it kind of coalesces in Night. And as you say, of just there's this really interesting kind of not mature again, like this really interesting kind of like deflatement of like, yeah, a character like the Joker dies, and rather than being the kind of the cartoon moralizing of Batman, I can't believe you let that happen. We don't it is like a kind of a more of a deflated sort of, well, you know, this guy was literally killing people every single day, so the fact that he's dead, I think we're actually kind of like it's really shitty that it happened the way that it did, but you know, it's a lesser of two evils essentially, you know, which yeah, and they just kind of play with that tone throughout the entirety of Night and kind of push and pull at it in a way that it's like really, I mean they have gone into places like that in the comics, but like especially for the games and especially for the other games of the time that it was going up against, I just find like really interesting, you know?
Well, that with Arkham, like like I love Night, I do. But I think my knowledge of comics ruined the major twist of, you know, of Jason Todd being the Arkham Knight.
The Arkham Knight. Yeah.
But the problem is, it was ruined for me the second they announced it, like, and this new mysterious character known as the Arkham Knight. I'm like, and that's Jason Todd.
And I think they didn't really do enough. So the thing I'll give Knight is that, like, I really enjoyed it, really appreciate it, but then I sat replaying it and I just said to somebody, I was like, this is Arkham City again, as in plot beats beat for beat. It's it's an abandoned part of Gotham where criminals get to run wild, and it's one night for Batman where it's going to keep escalating and escalating, and it's like, yeah, no, they're just kind of doing the plot beats of Arkham City again, even to the extent of having kind of two characters that bounce off one another. Well, I guess in City it's a bit more diffused and you don't realise two characters are bouncing off each other until the end, but obviously they have all the different factions of the Penguin, Two-Face and the Joker, which they kind of recreate a little bit in Night. But then, yeah, like, the Arkham Knight character is just kind of this... It's a bad idea in concept because it is, like... They didn't do any of the work in the previous games to establish who Jason Todd was, which would have maybe made it land with an interesting thing. And the fact that they said, it's a completely new character as well, is like, this is really stupid, because if you're a comic book fan, you're going to be annoyed by this because you've just basically tried to retrofit Under the Red Hood into your plot, where he's called the Arkham Knight because rather than in what happens in Death of the Family, which I love reminding people about, which is the Joker is the fucking envoy for Iran,
Yep.
who then tries to gas the UN, only for Superman to come in and suck all the gas out. And the Joker is so annoyed, and he's like, "I'm gonna kill Robin. I'm gonna kill Robin right now." And then it's like, "Phone in now. Do you want Robin to live or die?" And
then
it's just like,
hated that it just.
well, I think it was like 1,000 votes between us, and like, but it's like that classic crass comic book stuff of just having a phone-in vote for "do you want a character to die" kind of thing. But again, but then it makes it, when Under the Red Hood happens, is this kind of cool thing of just like, the one Batman character that got to stay dead is now finally back, but they're doing an interesting thing here of, tying it into the Joker's origin a little bit, and it's almost Todd kind of like taunting Batman a little bit of just like how you throw in the Red Hood and the acid bath created the Joker. You not stopping the Joker has created me, the Red Hood, kind of thing. Even if they're kind of, I can't remember what came first, if Ed Brubaker bringing back Bucky Barnes as the Winter Soldier happened before the Red Hood, or whether it's around the same time kind of thing. But
I want to say Bucky coming back can't happen before.
I want to say so too, and it might have just been a thing of DC being like, "Oh, that worked really well. Let's," because it was literally it was tied into the Crisis on Infinite Earth stuff, wasn't it? Oh, Infinite Crisis, where it was Superboy punching his way out of paradise had caused enough ripples across the universes or whatever that it brought. Yeah, it changed the plot enough that it brought Jason Todd back from the dead. But yeah, they try and retrofit it into Arkham Knight by being, well, rather than the random warehouse where the Joker killed him, it was actually within Arkham Asylum that this happened. And maybe even was happening within the time that you played the video game Batman Arkham Asylum. And it's like, this is a bit, you're trying to, like, this is a square peg that doesn't fit kind of thing, which I think is a shame because, like, yeah, they do the cool character plot. Again, it's just Batman slowly losing his mind throughout the game and realizing, oh, I've let everybody down. But just the fact that Jason Todd comes back is a nice little kind of foreshadowing thing of, actually, yeah, a lot of you can't really believe your eyes in a lot of this stuff with, them bringing back, Barbara Gordon wasn't actually dead. It was kind of they did it as a thing of the Scarecrow wanted to test, okay, has this guy literally lost his marbles or not? Let's, put this, let's pretend this character has been killed off as kind of like a bit of an ace in the hole sort of thing. Not that they pay it off too well. I think the plot is maybe the weakest point of that game, but I mean, it comes down to the fact that Paul Dini didn't work on it. It was written by, I think, the head of the studio. And again, I think that's probably why it feels so much like Arkham City, because it was like, oh, what was the last game we worked on? Okay, let's just carry that over, change a couple of notes here and there. But
well, I think something that shines through, especially in Arkham Knight, is like when you start to get towards the end of the story where Batman has been losing it consistently, and you start interacting with villains and the interactions change. There's one that comes to mind that's interacting with Penguin when you capture him, and he's giving you, of course, the tough guy act of like, oh, whatever, you jackass Batman, whatever, I'll just escape or whatever. And Batman just very quietly goes, I don't know, I'm not feeling like myself tonight. And
yeah,
and Penguin immediately, like, 180's like, if you want to just, take a rest or
they do cool stuff, and like even mechanically, like I was noticing stuff in this and I wonder how much of it may have been inspired by like Spec Ops: The Line and stuff, but like as the game gets on, the animations also get like way more aggressive. Like I'm thinking of the mission site that they have where it's taking out the militia outposts, and you get the animation at the where you have to find the militia commander and you find his PDA and then you break it. And initially it begins with him using his Batarang to kind of like prise it apart and then like break it from there. So a bit more professional. But by the end of the game, he just like crushes it in his fist, or he's just like punching it, and it's like,
oh yeah, where he like shoves his hand into the machine.
Oh yeah, or it's just like gutting the machines with his fist, kind of. So, like it's cool. Like again, they're doing a lot to try and just sort of push that he's kind of lost his mind at this point, and it's a shame that I don't think they ever really did a. I mean, they did Suicide Squad, but that's like its own weird beast. But it is a shame that I feel they never really did like a follow-on tonight, because I know that people always go, oh, well, the end's pretty definitive because he walks into his house and it blows up. But then, like, you get the bits of the credits of, like, like a new Batman has appeared, but he's using, like, Scarecrow's fear toxin, essentially. But, I'm just surprised, like... Yeah, like it feels like it was open enough that they could have done a follow-on. I mean, they do the DLC stuff with bringing the Robins back and giving them like one last mission to do, which feels like it was almost their experiment in almost what that Gotham Knights game ended up being, where it's like, oh, could we have a Arkham game where you change between the different, Bat family characters, and maybe Batman comes back as a figure in some other ways or whatever. But yeah, it just felt like it was just. But maybe even this is just me talking of just replaying these games and going, oh, these were really good, but Arkham Knight came out 11 years ago, and I really want another game like it, and no one's really done anything close to it since,
See, oddly enough, I did actually enjoy the Suicide Squad. Not now. I'm not saying it's a great game.
No, sure.
I had fun, but I really enjoyed like the character interactions, not only like interpersonally, but with how they interact with some of the heroes. Like of course, there's always that cutscene of like, oh yeah, Superman. Oh fuck, it's Superman.
Yeah, no, I'll give him that. Like the writing in Suicide Squad was tip top. Like the voice acting as well. I thought was like in the anime, like all of the technical stuff is just like the punching above their weight on all of that, because that's always been what Rocksteady's been really good at. And to be honest, gameplay wise, I loved the like navigating around the city was always really fun. Just like they all had really fun different move kits and stuff like that. I think just the thing that I never got on with was just like they had essentially retrofitted maybe 4 or 5 different activity types of wave-based attacks, driving in the car, going to different points and stuff. And it was just that non-stop throughout the game with very little variation to it,
Also, who did you main?
I kept swapping between them a lot. I think Harley was probably who I stuck with the most, though.
I played the entirety of the game as Captain Boomerang.
Oh, interesting. I think, yeah, because Boomerang's snipers, right?
So mainly long distance, but also the speedster portion of it.
Oh yes, that's right.
And so, but the thing is, once you get the hang of it, you are moving so fast that they can't touch you.
Oh yeah, no, like don't get me wrong. I think again, like the small mechanical loop stuff, I think they do super well of just, and even just the act of shooting. I think it's one thing that a lot of people take for granted in a third-person shoot, but they do make it feel like they find a really nice balance between like a more traditional third-person shooter and what they were doing with the Arkham games, which I think is really fantastic. But I mean, Metropolis as well, like as a big built environment that they did, I think is really impressive as well. I think it was just done by being a live service game of just a lot of looping the same content and all the rather than getting the reward. Well, sometimes you get extra story stuff out of it, but the main rewards just being guns of slightly better rarity and slight percentage differences.
But this one has a Batman logo on it.
That's true. This one can do 0.1 freeze damage over time if you're scoped in, but only against enemies that are electrified. And it's like, in Arkham Knight, you had a grappling hook, and you knew what that did. And you had the electric gun, and you knew what that did. And yeah, I don't know. It wasn't the game that convinced me on live service shooters, unfortunately. But
well, like in terms of the story, for starters, one of my favorite DC characters ever is Bizarro Superman.
Oh yeah,
and Suicide Squad, of all places, was the game to confirm that Bizarro exists in the Arkham universe.
Oh, interesting.
Because you can find the placard that he wears in some of his earlier comics that says Bizarro #1.
I can't remember if I found that or not, but that's, again, like, they're very good at getting the little details in with stuff like that.
No confirmation of the Reverse Flash, though, which is another favorite of mine.
I mean, maybe if they had kept the game in development, might have got there. I mean, I am interested in seeing if they are doing anything next, because I know the studio got, like, a lot of people left, a lot of people went to go form another one, and I know they're still open, but Warner Brothers in general seems to be a little bit like out of the games industry at this point. But
If they can give me a Suicide Squad sequel where you have one Bizarro Superman, two two Reverse Flash, get me Dexstar, the Red Lantern Cat,
oh yeah,
and
that'd be
I'm
good.
and I'm really struggling for a fourth. All right, hold on. It needs to be a big giant buff dude as per King Shark. So Solomon Grundy.
There we go. Yeah, if they can bring back Grundy from Arkham City, that'd be the way to go. Well, I was going to say, I'm trying to think of big guys in the DC universe. What's the guy? He's an alien guy who occasionally fights Superman. I think he has three eyes.
Three eyes.
Yeah. I think his thing is that he's telekinetic, but then he is also just a giant guy. So it's kind of like, I mean, having telekinesis is useful, I guess. Punching people also probably what he's going to be doing more often, though. But
Like, have you ever played the Injustice games?
I played a little bit of the first one. I genuinely have a really soft spot for the Mortal Kombat reboot that they did, like, which because yeah, they did Mortal Kombat versus DC, which was like their first run at using the Unreal Engine, and then after that they had done Mortal Kombat 9, which I think they had just called Mortal Kombat, which I think that came out just as I was in uni because I remember going through that single player campaign with somebody else and just being like very like charmed by this is like they've wanted to make their own little Mortal Kombat movie, which is occasionally interrupted by you get to play the fights, but just the level of quality that they put in it I thought was fantastic. And I only played a little bit of the demo of Injustice, but I don't know. Funnily enough, I read the Injustice comics because I was kind of like, this is an interesting enough idea that I would like to see more of it.
I like so I really like Injustice, but unfortunately it falls into that like it falls into the I don't it didn't invent the trope, but it like normalized it of the concept of the evil Superman.
Yeah.
And while I enjoy evil Superman, when his main characterization is just kneel before me, and then that's the end of the thought.
Yeah, he's just General Zod at that point, which I think evil Superman's a good idea, but only in contrast to then also having good Superman to bounce off, which is why General Zod as a concept works, because it's like, okay, what would Superman be like if not only Krypton still existed, but was like he was where Superman is like this being of two worlds, but he very much loves Earth. General Zod is a Krypton supremacist, so it's kind of like these two ideologies bashed against each other. And I guess like in Justice Superman, his point is I guess he still has that kind of split between Krypton and Earth, but then it is just this kind of thing of, well, we could stop crime from happening if I was in charge of everything. Whereas like that's not. Again, you need like regular Superman as a contrast against that, because I mean, because everyone else in Injustice is they're slightly off kilter as well. Like I think Batman's probably the closest to what he would be like in the other DC comics, but like Wonder Woman is way more like way more of a kind of a warmonger in those as well. Flash is kind of like himself, but then is taken off the board for a long time. So like everybody's kind of, you don't really get the contrast of what they should be like anyways that makes that stuff interesting, which I think in a game it doesn't matter too much, because it's like, oh, all you really need is just the setup of the good guys have become bad guys, but which gives us a reason for them to punch each other, kind of thing. Whereas, yeah, in the comics where they kind of give it more space to breathe, you just kind of want it to be a bit like, we need a bit more of a, like, you've created an antithesis here, but we need the thesis as kind of the bounce, the thing for it to bounce off. But
well, the thing I run into is they do have really interesting character moments, like outside of the comics. That said, the way that Bizarro gets his costume in the comics is my absolute favorite.
I'm trying to remember what it is from the main thing I remember from the comic, which I think is maybe a bad thing, is that um, is that Dick Grayson dies from falling over and hitting his head on a rock.
Yep.
Which,
He gets hit by a baton and then hits his
oh,
head
that's
on
it.
a rock.
He's get hit by a baton, but then he falls wrong on a rock, and that kills him. And it's like, oh no.
But I, like, what's the word I'm looking for? So, like, there's a failed clone of Superman that, as per the usual, Bizarro backstory, that escapes.
Sure.
He lands in, like, a German village, and they're like, hey, there's a guy that looks just like you on the news, and he's wrecking shit.
Oh crap.
and Bizarro's like, this am job for Superman. And they make him a costume, like this, like, little old man sews him like almost like the classic, pajamas.
Yeah.
And he's looking in the mirror, and the logo to him in the mirror is backwards.
Oh, so he rips it off and flips it the other way.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
I have a deep love for Bizarro, and I wish he got more representation in.
He's a fun because again, it's kind of like it's a more fun idea of just the inverted Superman, where most people say inverted Superman, and it's like, oh well, that means he's bad instead of good, and it's like, well, no, Bizarro was like, what if you took that idea to its logical extreme of just he's Superman, but he does like literally everything opposite. He says good night instead of good morning. He flies backwards. All that. Again, it's like the Superman comics, especially like the Golden Age ones, which is very good at coming up with like almost a joke character. Like not joke as in, they're a joke in the comics, but just like it's such like a bizarre idea that only really works in a comic book, and it's fun to pit that against a guy whose entire thing is. He's the best guy, he is literally the Superman. Like, give him such a curveball that he doesn't really know how to get around it.
Have you read the comic Superman Red and Blue?
I haven't read it. Is that the one where he's split into two entities?
So not the mid-90s one where he has like the weird electrical powers and is split into two people. It's a special. It's like an omnibus of short stories, and the whole color scheme thing is red and blue, and then sort of white and black filling in the neutral tones.
Okay.
And it is some of the best Superman stories I have ever read. They're fantastic. They're self-contained, and they're also just like genuinely sweet and tear-jerking at certain points. But there's one that has to do with Bizarro, which is like there's a lot of things that aren't considered with Bizarro. Like he technically has his own Fortress of Solitude.
Okay.
But it's made out of rock, and it's in the middle of the desert. And there's a story that it's a story taking place on Bizarro's birthday, and it's called For the Man Who Has Nothing.
And is it like a parody version of For the Man Who Has Everything?
Yeah. And
that's pretty good.
And it is most people are aware, I hope, of Mixius Pitlick.
Yes.
So Mixius Pitlick pulls a prank on Bizarro and makes him think that the entire Justice League has shown up to throw a birthday party for him.
Oh no.
Yeah. And they're just like being really mean to him, and the whole time I'm like, oh, this is unfair. Don't treat my boy this way.
I mean, I guess them being horrible to him, but would that not be positive to Bizarro though?
Well, no, like it's that version of Bizarro that's like the failed clone, not the one from Bizarro World.
Got ya.
And so they're like, well, happy birthday, Bizarro, and they give him a present, and he opens the present, and it's a mirror, and it says the word failure written across it.
Oh no.
And so he's just all sad, and I'm like, oh, I hate this so much. This is so sad. But Superman shows up, and like genuine Superman shows up and gives him a cupcake.
Ah. I was is that Superman Red and Blue is the name of that omnibus, yeah.
Yes.
I was gonna say I because I've read a lot of well, I mean I've read a lot of the sort of the top tier Batman graphic novels. So I've read Long Halloween and Dark Knight Returns and stuff like that. But I've never read a ton. The only Superman stories that I've read were for All Seasons, and that's just because I really like Long Halloween, and it was like, well, what else did Tim Sale and Jeff Loeb do? Oh, they literally did the same concept, but for Superman, and like
For All Seasons is amazing.
yeah, For All Seasons is like like even just the artwork in it is like ideal Superman, like to me, of just everyone is very round and very kind of mid-century looking. It's just like so well done. But
And Superman's built like a brick shit house.
and goes and the kid goes, nice costume, and he goes, nice, my mom made it, kind of thing. And that's like the only Superman story. Like I've read bits of the Grant Morrison All-Star Superman, but I haven't read it all the way through. But like, I don't know where would be like if you had to give like 3 decent Superman like omnibus recommendations, like off the top of your head, I guess.
So I'm super biased, but
Sure.
Red and Blue is absolutely a good one. All Star is a classic.
Yep.
I do recommend it. I would also recommend just for it. It's just an interesting story and interesting to see where they like the weird turns they take. Superman Red Sun.
Yeah, I read. I watched the animated version of that, which I thought was not bad.
So I highly recommend the comic over the animated film because they cover
Okay.
so much more,
Yeah.
and there's more, like you get to see kind of how messed up Superman's reign in Russia gets,
Mm.
and like they gently touch on it on in the animated film, but I understand
It's a
that
bit more compact, and it's kind of they're doing the classic DC animated thing of just trying to focus on all the kind of the action scenes because it's like this would look good in animation, and then try and compact the plot everywhere. Whereas, yeah, I guess with Red Son, they can just go more into the alt world stuff, which is like so much more interesting with that concept. Yeah, because doesn't the comic end with like the kind of the Russian utopia does eventually figure itself out, but then the joke is that Earth then kind of becomes Krypton again at the end of that story, and they send a Superman like baby off into space to as like the last son of this like of Earth essentially.
well it's this weird thing of so it's not the Russian utopia. It's more so that Superman just gives up.
Right.
But so the term that's used, and it's one of the more impressive feats that Lex Luthor ever pulls out of his back pocket, where he defeats Superman with a single sentence.
Okay.
It's not a super weapon. It's not a I'm holding your loved ones hostage.
I blocked out the sun or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, or I've shot you with a kryptonite bullet. And like you see it in the comics more that Luthor is like stressing himself into drinking, and he's like, I think I figured it out. I think I can do this. And he's sitting there with like a sheet of paper, and his room is like filled with crumpled up pieces of paper.
Sure.
And it's one that I would love to have. I want like a fictionalized piece of paper with the sentence on it framed in my home.
Oh, is it one of those things that's like they never show you what it is that he said to him,
Oh,
but it was
oh no,
okay.
you get to see it. It's because Superman's working with Brainiac. Brainiac, and this is the version where he is containing bottle cities like Kandor,
Okay.
and it's like, oh, how bad did it get? Oh, well, like fucking Moscow's gone. It's in a bottle,
Oh shit.
and like it starts to lean into the idea of like Superman, if left unchecked, might just keep doing this.
Yeah,
And,
like he almost becomes like he's trying to automate stuff to try and like make it as safe as possible. Kind
and
of thing.
so that's the question that is asked on this with the single sentence, and it's hand delivered by Lois Lane, in which she looks down and it simply says, "Why don't you put the entire world in a bottle, Superman?"
Huh.
And like he reads it and he's immediately like, "Oh shit! Oh no!"
That's interesting.
I want to get like I want to get somebody. I need to hire somebody with really nice handwriting to write that
Just
out.
to do that on a piece of paper and then get it framed. Yeah, that'd be really cool.
And I need to get like a piece of paper that has printed on it from the desk of Lex Luthor.
Like like a nice litho print at the top kind of thing for that. Yeah, that'd be good.
Here, what? Just a sec.
Oh,
No, cats, no. Leave it alone. It is beyond me why they have given video game consoles touch-sensitive buttons.
yeah, especially ones that could be activated by anything, not just a human finger. But
Well, for some reason, one of my cats has learned how to hit the eject button on a PS4, and that's what I had to step away for because I hear like the beep, and I look over and I see a disc copy of Skyrim shoot out. I'm like, oh no.
it's just your cat playing with it. God.
He only does it when he wants attention, though. That's the thing.
I mean, I mean, it obviously works.
Yeah, I gotta get up and run over there.
Oh gosh.
Well,
You know, it's funny. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
oh no, go for it. What's up?
I was going to say it's just funny that we've had this really lovely conversation about living in middle of Texas and sort of like making YouTube stuff, and then had a nice big conversation about Batman. And Superman comics. And I haven't had to go. I haven't had to really explain myself of why I'm on why I'm on this chat or anything like that. I think it's because I never get to chat. Yeah, I never get to chat comic stuff with people. Is the thing, just because a lot of my friends are just gamers, but they don't really. Yeah, like a lot of them read manga. Well, they mostly watch anime, but they don't really get in the comic stuff that much. Although it's funny, like I'm trying to broaden my horizons a little bit of just not just the big two, but see what like other places, other companies have done. Like I've bought it, but I haven't read it yet. But Darwin Cook, the guy who did New Frontier.
Mm.
He did a series where he adapted the Richard Stark's Parker, which has been like adapted into so many different films, like not Jackie Brown, Payback, starring what's his face, Mel Gibson. Like that's adapted from one of his stories, and there's like another one that's adapted from Richard Stark stuff. But basically, Darwin Cook had done illustrated versions of these Richard Stark Parker stories and worked in collaboration with that writer as well to make sure that they were like as accurate as possible. And I haven't like sat down and properly read it, but just like flicking through it, just Darwin Cook's stuff is just so pretty in it. It's all black, like it's all grayscale, but he will occasionally use like an accent color to like push something, and like all the different Parker stories all have a different accent color like related to the plot. But like really cool looking stuff,
Well, like, have you ever read Sin City?
Yeah, I've read Sin City.
So I like the movie, but
Yeah.
I adore the artwork for Sin City because it's like what's the term? Like ugly beautiful.
Yeah, like it's very well. I think I mean, Miller's really good in The Dark Knight Returns, but like Sin City, I think is probably his art style at its best because he just gets like he's not working with somebody else's property. Like every character can kind of be the most exaggerated and Frank Miller-y character they can be, but yeah, like everyone's super craggy and like because he's
Especially
working
Marv.
within this like yeah because he's working in this really stark black and white style, like you can just like they're almost like perfect silhouettes as well. Like you know who every single character is from like profiler in the front, even when they're completely blacked out. You know?
Well, then even like it's to a point with certain characters, specifically in the original Sin City story, that I love they do it in the movie too, but the highlights that characters have of certain
Yeah.
characteristics, like with Marv being covered in the small bandages,
In bandages, yeah.
but you could remove his entire face and just show the bandages, and you'd still know that's Marv.
Yeah, no, it's so like yeah, just everything is so cleverly figured out from like a visual like it's almost to the point I think Marvel did a series like this like years ago where it was they had like really illustrated comic book panels but no dialogue. So it was all like purely done through like reading like kind of body cues and stuff like that. And like Sin City you could like I mean the writing in Sin City is great, but you could almost because it is so visually like easy to like so legible, you could absolutely make that story work without like any dialogue, just based on not just like knowing which character is which, but just how like great his expressions are as well, you know?
Now, Hotcyder, we have crossed
Yes.
the 2 hour mark.
We have
And I do have some errands to run.
you know what? That is absolutely fine. This has been a really lovely conversation. Again, I do apologize if I've gone off script too much and haven't done much of the YouTube interviewee stuff. But listening to your other, listening to the other convos. I mean, this was the just hearing like all the cool tangents you go down was kind of what I was really into. So I guess
I was
try
gonna-
to repudge that.
I was gonna say, I'm like off script. I'm like, there is no script.
No, true. Yeah, we kind of we went off the path a little bit, much like you have to go off the path for 2.5 miles to get to where you live. So
I like that's why I love doing this show, because
Yeah.
I specifically do not like. I hardly even form the questions before I ask them. It's like I just want to see what people are like behind the channel.
yeah, well, I hope I could give a good impression of myself.
Don't worry, you have. And
Oh,
to
I guess.
and to close this out today, I want to thank you first and foremost, Hotcyder, for hanging out with me today. And I do have 2 questions to get us out of here today.
No problem at all.
So, the first one, I know we didn't cover it at all, but what is your favorite your favorite video on your channel that you like?
Oh God, that's a that's a
You
really
ha-
good question.
You have to pick a favorite child.
I have to pick a favorite child of because they all have their own strengths and weaknesses. I mean, Wario Lice I think is the video that most people associate me with, and it's of. I'll try and be as quick as possible, just because you got to run errands. But like, I do think of the channel in like a lot of different eras. Like when I started it off, and before it was called Hotcyder, funnily enough, there was like 2 years where I was trying to figure the channel out and wasn't quite sure what kind of videos I wanted to make. And there's very little of that time that I really like. I would say that the first video of mine that I really like, genuinely, if somebody wanted to go to my channel and wanted to watch the first good video, I would say probably my looking at XCOM, the Bureau XCOM Declassified. Just a game that I think is not maligned, but like didn't get a lot of love on release. I think had a lot of this weird air around it of, they're taking this beloved it was originally going to be something where it was going to be more definitional of the XCOM franchise, and people kind of hated it for that, versus where it ended up, where it was almost this weird side course to the better XCOM games that we did get. But so many interesting layers in that game that I didn't think a lot of people really dug into. So I was like, I want to make a nice definitive video on this, and I think of my early videos, that's probably the best one of that. That being said, Wario Likes is a really good entry point to what I do, because it's almost like a little mixtape of free games that I find really interesting. And a lot of what I do now is I'll try and collate games together under like maybe a single mechanic that they share, or like an idea, or like in the case of the cool games videos, like literally the only like thesis or the only kind of connecting element is I think these are cool games that you should play. I would say then of the one video that people should go and watch to kind of get an idea of what I do, go watch Cool Games Volume 1. And you just get a taste of the stuff that I like, how I like to write about games, what I find interesting about pulling them out. They're not just product reviews, they are usually built around, sometimes I even talk about games that I don't think are particularly good, but there may be one element of them that I find so interesting that is the thing that you should go away with. So I believe I even have it set to, when you go to the channel, that is the first one that you see, or it might be the second one, but yep. Cool Games Volume 1 by Hotcyder. That would be my recommendation to the folks at home.
Fantastic. And there will be a link to not only your channel, but the aforementioned video in the description below.
Great.
And the last question to close us out today would be, are you open to coming back as a return guest?
Yeah, I think there was a couple of topics that we kind of left hanging, especially about YouTube production stuff. I think was quite. I feel like we could probably talk for hours about that. Granted, I feel like we could talk for hours about Batman games and comic books and stuff like that. So yeah, I would be more than happy to come back.
I would love to have you back on, especially relatively soon, even if we're just talking Batman.
Yeah, well, I mean, if there's I think there is some Batman stuff on the way, so it might be good to pop back in and share some thoughts on it. So
absolutely. And with that, party people at home, thank you for hanging out with us today. Please, please, please go check out Hotcyder's channel. There will be links in the description of this here video and at the end card, which I keep forgetting that I do, but I keep forgetting to mention it in the episode. But with that, party people at home, thank you very much for hanging out with us. This has been Demasked. My name is Fresman, and I'll see all of you next time.